Say what you will about the poor product on the field, the New England Patriots 2023 season has been anything but boring when it comes to the storylines. Perhaps the biggest ongoing story is what will happen to Bill Belichick when the season comes to an end. Some are saying he's already worked out his next destination and that he plans on coaching somewhere else after this season. With this in mind, let's examine some of the possibilities at head coach heading into the 2024 season, because it's never too early. Then at the end, I will tell you my choice, at least at the moment, for who should be the next head coach of the New England Patriots. The first is probably the favorite, at least based on some of the things Patriots owner Robert Kraft has alluded to, and that's Jerod Mayo. Mayo has served as the team's inside linebackers coach since 2019 and essentially the de facto defensive coordinator alongside Steve Belichick. Mayo leads the team meetings on the defensive side of the football, is a trusted coach in the locker room, and looks to have a bright future ahead of him as an NFL head coach since he's only 37 years old. As of this past offseason, this is the guy Robert Kraft wants to replace Bill Belichick. He's also very much a football wonk, according to many, which means it's very possible he takes on a Belichickian role as both a head coach and general manager. The questions with Mayo is he too young to take on a significant role like that? Also, not many players outside of New England's system know of Jerod Mayo. While he may connect with players in the locker room, is his presence going to be a draw for free agents since he's relatively unknown to the rest of the league? Finally, this year's Patriots team imploded much worse than most thought. Mayo may be the obvious choice in terms of continuity from Bill Belichick, but does ownership want to take the team in a different direction? If that's the case, the Krafts may want to select a more offensive-minded coach, like the next two on my list. The first is Eric Bieniemy. He was the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs that helped to elevate Patrick Mahomes, while Andy Reid received most of the credit. As a result, he left Kansas City for Washington this past offseason to set himself apart, and you're seeing how great he's making Sam Howell look, despite some of the limitations of that offense. Bieniemy would be a fantastic choice for modernizing the Patriots offense, which is still basically running the Erhardt-Perkins system of the Tom Brady days while mixing in a bit of the more modern Kyle Shanahan-style wide zone scheme to limited success. But along the same lines, there's Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions that's helped turn Jared Goff and company into one of the league's best offenses. If, God forbid, Mac Jones is still the quarterback next season, or you draft a guy like Michael Penix Jr. who is more inclined to stay in the pocket, Johnson has proven he can succeed with those types of quarterbacks. Even if it's Drake May or Caleb Williams, Johnson would make sure they can succeed from the pocket while still taking advantage of their mobile abilities. Johnson spent his early coaching career at Boston College, so he knows the area well. He's probably the most desired potential head coach among NFL teams at the moment, and I think the Patriots would have a real shot at him. But let's say Robert Kraft doesn't want to get too radical bringing in an offensive head coach. Let's say he wants to strike a balance between continuity from Belichick and being able to attract high-profile free agents to New England. That best candidate is probably Mike Vrabel. Now, Vrabel would likely need to be traded for unless he gets fired at the end of the 2023 season by the Tennessee Titans. But here you would have a proven NFL head coach that has had some playoff success with, frankly, inferior teams. He can elevate players, motivate the locker room, and understands a lot of the nuances of being a head coach in the NFL. I remember him running out the clock, taking penalties at New England in the 2019 AFC wildcard round, which turned out to be Tom Brady's last game as a Patriot. That was something he learned from Belichick. As a former player and now Patriots Hall of Famer, Vrabel understands the culture of New England that badly needs restoring. But just as importantly, players around the league love Mike Vrabel, which means he will likely attract some great free agents, and these are the type of players that want to work hard to win football games. Next on my list is Bill O'Brien. Now, I don't think this is very likely considering how much the Patriots offense has struggled this season. O'Brien may not even be back next year. That being said, people seem to forget how great of a head coach O'Brien was with the Houston Texans. Part of the reason for that, when they gave him the GM duties, he completely destroyed the roster and lost his job as head coach in the process. But O'Brien's Texans won the AFC South Division 4 times, 2 of which came without Deshaun Watson. He was able to win with guys like Tom Savage, Brock Osweiler, and Brandon Weeden. Again, I don't think this is likely, but Bill O'Brien has an impressive resume solely as a head coach. However, last on my list is the Patriots do nothing. Perhaps they do something at general manager where Bill Belichick has struggled to bring in talent the last half decade, but there is an argument for keeping Belichick just as the head coach. Although the team has entered numerous games over the last 12 months ill-prepared, often falling into early two-score holes they have to climb out of, he's still the greatest coach of all time. And I would argue when it comes to mid-game adjustments, seeing what the other team does, going into the locker room at halftime and coming out with a completely different game plan, he's still the best in the NFL. Maybe that's the solution. You keep Belichick as head coach and bring in some new blood to adjust player personnel. I don't think Bill would go for it, but if he wants to stay in New England and chase Don Shula's record, this is probably the best scenario. I don't see it happening. I think Robert Kraft wants to start over, but a lot can change between now and January. So those, I believe, are the top candidates at the moment. Now, let me give you my choice at who should be the next Patriots head coach, and that is Mike Vrabel. I see you bring in Mike Vrabel to restore the Patriot way, along with recruiting star free agents here that want to play for a young, exciting, and reputable head coach. Pair him with a young, analytics-driven general manager that can bring in some talent, particularly in offense. See how it works out. Ideally, you do that, then name Gerard Mayo as the official defensive coordinator, and bring back Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. If they want to stick with Bill O'Brien, fine, but I would rather have McDaniels there, the only OC to actually succeed with Mac Jones the last 3 years. And imagine if he got to work with a Caleb Williams or Drake May. It also helps that McDaniels would likely stay put in New England for a long time after the fiasco in Vegas. That is my recommendation. Who would you suggest be the next head coach of the New England Patriots, along with the coaching staff around them? Is there someone I missed? Let me know in the comments.